Hello everybody, my name is MR.TUT here with another video for you guys. Today I'm particularly excited because I will be showing you guys how to color grade inside DaVinci Resolve, which to me is the best color grading program I've seen. And the only other one is Premiere Pro. But besides that, let's move the camera so that I can get to my computer and then we can start the tutorial on showing you guys how to color grade inside DaVinci Resolve. Let's go. Alright everybody, so now we're going to fire up DaVinci Resolve and get started. Okay, so I'm going to click on DaVinci Resolve here. So this is the free version, but there also is a paid version of this, which just has a little more features, but in terms of color grading, you don't really need it. So the free version is perfectly fine. Okay, so DaVinci Resolve is fired up here, and we're going to create a new project. Click New Project. Let's call it TUT Color, and click Create. Give it a second, and it will open DaVinci Resolve. Alright, so we're going to import some clips here. Going to go up to File, Import Media. Yes, here. Let's open it up. So now it's asking you if you want to change the settings. So the clips that you're importing have a different frame rate than the current project settings. Would you like to change your timeline frame rate and video format to match? I want to change it. Okay, now is here our video. Go edit, you can edit. I'm going to drag it in because otherwise you can't color grade it when it's not in the timeline. Okay, so here we're going to just cut up a little portion of it. Let's play it and see. I'm going to mute it with the M here. So muting that. S is for solo, so if you have multiple tracks and you just want to hear this track, you press the S and it will solo that individual audio track, and then you'll only hear that, and when you unsolo it, you'll be able to hear the rest of the audio all together in your timeline. Alright, so it hit the camera there. So it's a really easy workflow and I like it. The tools, like how you do it, how you cut everything, it's just really smooth and enjoyable. Alright, we can cut there. With me looking at the sky, the ceiling, there's no sky in my room. Alright, so now we're going to head over to color, select your footage, go over to color, and here is where the amazingness begins. Alright, so we are going to play with I'm going to explain all of these settings, most of them, as much as I know. So here's the curve. So if you ever use curves, basically here is the highlights, I believe, on this end, and here's the shadows, so you can affect the shadows. And usually people like to do an S curve like that, or like this, sorry, and really in different places, and just to add more contrast, but we can do that a different and easier way. So over here, the lift, you can scroll this panel over here, affects the shadows, I believe, and over here the gamma, I don't exactly know what it does. I think it brightens the entire video. The gain affects the highlights, and the offset I think also affects the entire video. Okay, so what I'm going to do is bring down the shadow some, bring up the highlights. Not gonna play with the overall brightness yet. Over here there are two areas. One has contrast, pivot, saturation, hue, luma mix, and then number 2 has temperature tint, MD. I don't exactly know what that stands for. Color boost, shadows, and highlights. So over here you can adjust the shadows also, and here you can adjust the highlight, which is essentially the same thing that the lift and gain does. So I'm going to go over to 1. I'm going to add not too much, but some contrast. Okay, I don't exactly know what the pivot does, so I'm not going to play with that around too much, but you just move it around and you can see what it affects, and maybe you like it. Okay, so going to add a little bit of saturation. The hue, I think it was good at, what was it, 1? No, I believe it was 50, which where the point is, the middle area. Sorry, I can't see my keys because I have a microphone here. So, and then Luma Mix doesn't do anything, which is weird. Go over to number 2. The temperature, I know I want to push it a little bit more to the warm side. Not going to play around with a tint, but essentially if you move it all the way to the right, it'll make your footage more purple, and all the way to the left, more green. Yes, going to, no. 0, enter. And over here, the MD. From my experience, what I think it does is it's the sharpness, and it's actually a very interesting slider. Now, if I zoom in over here, you can see like my skin. It's not very fancy and everything, but if I bring that down some, you can see it softens the skin, and I think it's overall the entire footage. It just softens it, kind of makes it more pleasing, I guess, but now it looks like I have tons of makeup on. So you can bring it down some or bring it up. I think I'm gonna bring it at, let's see, let's go back to 0 and then see if I bring it up a little, down some. I think I'll bring it a little bit down. And then the color boost, this will just boost the colors, but I don't want to do that. The shadows are pretty good for me, and the highlights are okay. Okay, now you can play around with that. That's a cool effect. Alright, yes, now this is one of the best things that I love about the color grading area in DaVinci Resolve, is over here. You can make masks. Alright, so quickly I'll show you. Let me click. Oh. Okay, so here are the masks. You can mask out something and individually color grade that part. But quickly, I'm going to hit Alt F, and if this stuff already shows up, that's good. You can push Alt F to take it away. But now see, originally what we were supposed to do was make a copy of this, because this is the original footage. Okay, so if anything happens, we should, it's basically like an adjustment layer, or duplicating your footage and just editing that, because it's always good to edit a duplicate of your footage, so that, or use adjustment layers, so that if something happens, you have the original footage. So normally what you would do would be selecting your footage, push Alt S, and then now make a copy, and then you can adjust this one, whatever, and then if you don't like it, you can delete it and you still have your original. So that was a mistake, but remember, next time you should always duplicate your footage and then edit that one. Okay, so what we're going to do is duplicate it, because now when we make a mask, it will make a mask on that layer, but we still have the other layer, so that there's something in the background. It's kind of like stacking layers on top of each other. If you have a layer above and you mask out something from that area, if you don't have anything below, it'll just be black or a certain color below. But if you have something under it, the same footage without the mask, then it's complicated. Alright, so hopefully you understood that. Now I'm just going to adjust this sort of to my face, but since I have so much hair and it's going kind of over my face, I'm not going to use the mask. Oh, I'm just going to delete this node. Right click and delete it, so that's how you do it. I'm going to actually use the pen tool and just select my, no, I think I want to hold on. Yes, I want to do this. Sorry, let's restart. Okay, Alt S and select the pen tool. And I actually wanted to do it also around my neck area, see? And you just click. Doesn't have to be too fancy. And yeah, there, we closed it up. Okay, now I'm going to push Alt F to hide that stuff. And this is one of the best parts about DaVinci Resolve, is that you can track the mask, and it is incredible. It is super well. It tracks it very good. So we're going to get to that, but right before that, if you go over here and click this thing that says highlight, it will only show you the area that is masked out. So I can see now that my footage, yeah, so it's like a really hard edge, and if you want to soften it, you come over here to the right where it says softness, and you just turn that up and it'll soften it. And then also here you can push up the outside to expand the mask a little bit, and the inside to choke it down. Alright, now we're going to undo that. We can undo that. Come over here to the tracker area. Go to the beginning of our footage actually, and make sure it's in the beginning of your footage. If you want to track it, make sure it's at the beginning of your footage so that you can align everything correctly. Sorry, this is just gonna take a moment. I'm gonna come over here. Yeah, that's good. Alright, so now we're going to track the mask. Yep, selected. We're gonna track it. So just come over here. If your object, whatever, is not rotating, you don't have to have rotate on. If it's not tilting, if it's just a static object, really, you can have most of these off, but just see what's best fit your footage. Alright, now we're going to hit track forward. And now you can see it does an amazing job, and even my finger went over that, but it did not include it. So now what I probably should have done was 2 separate masks for my neck and my head, because you can see it mainly stuck to my head, and when my head was moving around, it did not stay to my neck, which is okay for now because this is just the tutorial. So now, since you see the mask is selected, we can just change the color or whatever we want of that selected footage or mask, and now it will just look however we want it to be, and it will only affect what was masked out. So I think I'll just turn up the sharpness a little bit on it, and turn up the highlights. Yes, so now you can see if you push Control Z, there's before, after, and Alt D will change it to go completely from original. So this was the original, everybody, and this was after. A huge improvement, amazing, I love it, and I think that is pretty much it. Alright everybody, so thank you for watching. I hope this helped you. I know it's pretty long, let's see, 15 minutes long. If you heard my computer, that's because it is pretty loud. The fans are working to cool it off. But yeah, besides that, I hope you really like this tutorial. If you have any other questions about it, maybe you want me to go in depth, I don't really think it's necessary. I mainly learned all of this from scratch. It just open it up, start playing around with everything, which I recommend that you do so you can get a feel for it and just know everything about it. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe, comment, and yeah, I guess I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye!